I'm Orthionapam, an incoming freshman for biochemistry at Exeter College, University of Oxford for the class of 2024. I'm an ambassador for the Virtual Vine. Welcome to the part 2 video for the scholarship application process to the University of Oxford as part of the Virtual Vine's special series on financial aid applications to colleges. In this video, I'm going to mainly go into a little bit more details regarding the funding opportunities available in Oxford for international students. I'm going to talk a little about what is available for US students, and because usually most of the scholarships in Oxford are nationality specific. You have to be from a specific country to be eligible for a specific scholarship. So for the US, they usually have a different sector for them. I'll actually begin this with talking a little about the application fees, which is, since it entails costs, it probably is a little bit relevant here. I'm going to contrast it a little bit with the Common App fees, because in the US, for Common App, you have an option for waiving the application fee. There's an application fee waiver available, which if you follow a specific set of procedures and are able to prove that you're eligible to waive your fee, you can always waive it. But in the UK, this is not a possibility. This is not an option. You cannot waive your application fee. It is very much compulsory. However, in the UK, the application fee is much less expensive than in the US or in the Canada. For instance, in the UCAS, you can apply for at most 5 universities in one application cycle. So there is an option for choosing one university. If you apply to one university, which is known as a single choice, you only pay £20 for that application. And if you apply to more than one, be it 2, 3, 4, or 5, then you pay £26 from 2021 onwards. So the most you're going to pay for a UCAS application is £26, and that is quite cheaper. It is relatively cheaper compared to the application fees for other countries and other universities. So that is something that you should be aware of, that the application fee for the UCAS application is quite cheaper comparatively. So we're back at the Oxford fees and funding page, and I'm going to go back to the 2020 Oxford bursaries and scholarships. The information for 2021 is not available yet. It will be posted in autumn of this year, which is around mid-August to mid-September. So check it up at that time if you want the up-to-date information, whether it is about the course fees or about scholarships or about scholarship deadlines. So most of the scholarships and bursaries and financial aid available for Oxford or any other university in the UK is usually very much for the UK students specifically. However, there are a few scholarships, as I explained in the previous video in part 1, that there are a few scholarships available for students from other countries outside the UK. The Reach Oxford Scholarship and the Simon and June Lee Undergraduate Scholarship are the ones that most developing country students need to look out for. These are usually provided for a very wide range of countries, around almost a little over 100 countries in the case of Reach Oxford, a little fewer in the case of Simon and June Lee. Personally, I think Simon and June Lee is more competitive because it provides only 2, while Reach Oxford, each year there are around 3 or 4 Reach Oxford scholarships given out, but only 2 Simon and June Lee undergraduate scholarships given out. So since I applied for and received a Reach Oxford scholarship, I'm going to go into the details of this. However, I will do that towards the later half of the video. I'm just going to go through the information provided for Reach Oxford scholarship initially. So the Reach Oxford Scholarship is is available for a large number of countries, mostly developing countries, and it is available for all subjects except for medicine. I mentioned in the previous video that students studying medicine at Oxford usually do not get funding from the university. You either have to have funding from your home country or you have to fund your own costs actually, so you will not receive any support from the university for medicine. Also, not all colleges usually offer the scholarship. Some colleges do not participate in the scholarship scheme. So even if you're accepted at a college in January that you applied to, if you do receive a scholarship, the scholarship announcements are usually made by 30th April every year. So if you receive a scholarship, there is this slight chance that you might be transferred to another college. I was transferred to another college to accommodate for my scholarship. Also, last year for 2020, the deadline was 12th February. You usually cannot access the portal before January. The portal opens once the decisions are out, because you cannot apply for a scholarship unless you have an offer of study unless you have a place at Oxford. So that is one of the eligibility criteria. So the portal usually opens after 14 January, which is when the results are usually out on who has received an offer at Oxford and who has not. Usually, after the results are out in mid-January, this is where the portal appears. So the status currently says that applications are closed because they are actually closed, but at some point after the results are announced, the application portal will appear here and it will redirect you to the application. This is actually an online application, but it is usually wiser to save the form because you have to write down essays, and usually if you have to write down essays, it is better to have a copy of it in a Word document or somewhere so that you can come back and review it continuously, because these applications usually have a timeout feature. So they will automatically log you out if you remain inactive for long periods of time. The course fees usually increase every year by 3%. However, every year, if you maintain a satisfactory academic record, then every year you will receive 100% of the course fees from the scholarship, and it is irrespective of any increases or any inflation on the course fees. A grant for living costs is another thing that you need to be aware of. Usually I showed this in the last video, that Oxford has a table for living costs where they state the upper range and the lower range for living costs in a particular year for students. And the grant that is provided for any scholarship at Oxford, if it states that it provides a grant for living costs, it is usually the calculated mean of the lower range and the upper range of the university living costs. So I'll just show you how this works, because if I go to 2020 living costs for Oxford, they have a lower range of £10,215 and an upper range of £14,850. So if you are receiving a grant for living costs, a mean of these two values will be calculated, and you will usually receive approximately, the mean for this year was £12,533. So a grant, if you receive a grant, this is the amount you will be receiving, which is actually sufficient, and it's quite liberal. Next, I'll actually show something, because you can see here that there is nothing for the US students, and US students are usually not eligible for a merit scholarship at Oxford. There is nothing available here. What you can do is, I'll show you in the guide for US students. Oxford has this prospectus for American students. It's called an American Students Guide to Undergraduate Study at Oxford, and this usually has more information than the usual funding. It has information on courses and how the curriculum differs from USA, and how you can apply, and the entry requirements required for US students. Towards the end, they have a fees and funding section where they describe what is available for the US students. And in this case, what US students really do have is the option to apply for a US direct loan program. US students can apply for federal student loans through the US direct loan program. If you want to get more information on the US direct loan program process, you can go to the Oxford University graduate page, because mostly loans are usually available for graduate students at the University of Oxford, and that is why the loan section is usually mentioned there. You scroll down and go to how much, you will find that towards the end of the page they have mentioned a section for undergraduate students here. So for undergraduate students, everything that you need to apply for is mentioned here. So this is the form for the Reach Oxford Scholarship. There are usually two parts to this entire form. Section A cannot be downloaded because it is usually the section where they ask you which scholarships you want to apply for, and there are these check boxes and you just tick whichever ones you want to apply for. You can apply for more than one at the same time, so you'll just have to select it. The reason why this is important, selecting which scholarship you're applying for is important, is because the essays that you have to answer usually vary with the scholarship that you're applying from, and that is what constitutes the last part of the scholarship application. This is a part that changes. This is not section E. Section F is the part that changes additional statement. This is for Reach Oxford Scholarship. If you're applying for a different scholarship, then the essay prompts will be different. Moving on to section C, which is course details. This is where you mention which course you're applying for, which college you're applying for, and that is basically all they ask. They want to know which college, because in case you are in a college that is different from the one that is participating in the scholarship scheme, then the university has to be informed, and then if they have to transfer you to a different college, which is usually not something you have to participate in, they do it automatically. In section D, which goes under the name of financial information, you have to provide accurate information on your household incomes for 2020. For the 2020 application cycle, I had to provide information from 1st September 2018 to 31st August 2019. For 2021, perhaps you'll have to fill it in with information from 1st September 2019 to 31st August 2020. I'm not very sure, but when you do apply, it will be written, so you have nothing to worry about. Next, you have to provide information on your net annual income. In point 7, they're talking about please state your net annual income, which means you, the student, the applicant, it is your net annual income. If you do not earn anything, you just type in a simple 0. If you earn something, if you have a job, then you type in the amount that you earn. This does not include the income of your parents or anyone else. It is completely yours. For instance, for me, I did not have a job, and so this didn't apply for me at all. In section 14, which actually requires you to talk about the expected contribution from different sources that you have listed before, and you usually have to state these in UK pounds, and you have to select the status of your funding, and usually you are supposed to be using the currency values mentioned in the table, and the currency values that are mentioned are usually in pounds, and they usually provide you with the link here. So where applicable for household members listed below, you have to use, if your household income is not in the UK pounds, you must convert local currency into pounds using these exchange rates. So you have the exchange rates mentioned here, and you have to use these particular specific exchange rates when converting your household income from your currency to the pound, to UK pound. it is very essential that you do so, because they will be considering it according to this. And if later on during the visa applications or any time, if you require to show them any documents, they will convert it according to this. And also because even if you're showing them how much you can contribute, the amount you show may vary quite a lot depending on which exchange rate you show. So this is like an equalizer. It allows you to have a standardized platform to view different applications and compare. Also, they will have a question later on how you expect. This is based on a question that asks you how you intend to fund your course fees and your living costs, provided that you do not receive a scholarship. So they actually want to see whether you are capable of providing and how much of a strain this entire process might put on you. 4 years of the undergraduate course, and you just enter in amounts depending on how much you can provide from each of these, from own income, from relative friends, from other scholarships, from government loans, from private loans, and the total amount each year. The next question is on how you have funded your studies so far, if you haven't funded them through a scholarship, if you have funded them through your parents' income, and if you have any other clarifications on how your studies have been funded. These are things that they ask you because they want to get a deeper view of how your funding circumstances actually stand, because they want to see whether you actually need it or not. I'll come back to the references later. I'll talk about the essays first, actually. So Section E considers the supporting statement for this application. The first prompt is on financial need. They asked me why I'm applying for this scholarship and how it will enable me to study at Oxford. There was a 250 word cap, and you cannot use any more words than 250 words. This is the essay where you mention that table before in question number 14. This table, if you haven't showed the entire tuition fees, then you can account for that in this essay. In this essay, I personally mentioned that I couldn't mention the entire tuition fees because I was not able to pay them without the scholarship. So that without the scholarship, I truly would not be able to study at Oxford, since I was not able to pay the total fees. The next essay that you need is academic merit. And here you usually have to mention your academic qualifications and what you have, what test scores you have. In fact, I have explained these essays in detail in another video for the virtual Vibe in the International Student Series. So check the University of Oxford videos for the 3-part University of Oxford application videos for more details on these essays. I have spoken more about them there, but I'm just going through a brief overview here on the different essays. So the second essay is on academic merit, and here you describe how you were inspired and how your test scores show that you're eligible for this, how you're passionate, how you have experience in this sector, whether you know what you want to study, whether you know how this projects you in your work life, and how you want your Oxford academic experience to actually benefit you in your area of interest. The next section is actually optional, which is the additional statement. These were the prompts last year for the Reach Oxford Scholarship. These might change in the next year. These might not change in the next year. Also, if you're applying for a different scholarship, such as the Simon and June Lee Scholarship, then you might have a different set of prompts. If you're applying for Palgrave Scholarship or the Islamic Scholarship, you might have a different set of essays. So this is an additional statement. This is very much specific to the Reach Oxford Scholarship, and there are 2 essays required here. These have a maximum of 200 words for them. In the last essay that you have, amongst the 4 that I had to apply for, the last one is educational opportunities. This, in my opinion, is the trickiest essay. It is something that I actually spoke to my biology teacher about, since my course was biochemistry, and I wanted to know what the fields are like in my country, and my teacher had a much better perspective on how this is in the case of Bangladesh. So you actually have to write what facilities are available for you in your country in this subject, and you have to give them an account of that. You have to tell them that this is available in your subject and this is not, and why you're applying for a scholarship and why you need to go to Oxford to study in this subject, because you usually the usual answer is you usually don't have the facilities required, the highly advanced facilities or opportunities required to study your subject in your home country. So think this essay through and talk to people in this field. It could be your teacher, it could be your parent, it could be someone you know. Talk to them and get a better idea of how your subject is thriving in your country and write a comprehensive essay on that. Moving back to the reference part, which is in section F. The reference part is the last part of the Reach Oxford Scholarship application form. Here you usually have to give the name of one person who is very much up to date with your academic prowess and your interest in your subject. And this person absolutely cannot be related to you. They have to be a former or current teacher, and they have to know you very well. They have to know how you are interested in your subject and how you want to improve, how you have improved over the years, how good you are in your subject, and how you perform in class and outside class. So you usually the smart thing to do here is to get a reference letter from a teacher in this subject, which is what I did. I got a reference from my biology teacher. Also, the university will email your referee and they have to send in your reference before the deadline. So if the deadline is 12th February, your referee has to send in the reference within 12th February, and the university will not accept references sent in after this deadline. So here, when you are mentioning the email address, you have to mention the institutional email address, and this is actually written here, so it is quite specific. The reference usually has to be on a letterhead page of your school, so try to get that part clear, inform your referee about that. And also, in case you want your referee to send in the reference before you submit your application for the scholarship, then you can do so. You can, although they will inform you once you submit your application that an email has been sent to your referee. If your referee sends the reference beforehand in advance, the university will not mind. All you have to do is, once you submit the application, you have to email the university and let them know that your referee has actually submitted the reference in advance. Also, the university will also send a confirmation email to your referee confirming that they have received your reference, so you have all the proof that you need in case you get a little confused. To conclude it, I'd like to say that honestly, the scholarship process, while the scholarships are quite competitive, you can actually go through the entire process quite easily. It is not something very difficult. I found it quite easy, and I'm sure you will find it quite easy, because most of it is very, very much stated in the instructions. The instructions tell you what you need to do. Also, if you're confused in some part, you can always email the university, and you can always call them, and they will be glad to help you. They're actually quite helpful, and they do. If they find, once you submit your application, if the university, if the admissions panel, if the scholarship panel is actually confused about a bit of information that you have provided, they will email you and ask you to clarify it. So you don't actually have to worry about if you've got something wrong or if there's something that is not clear to the panel, because if they're confused, they will let you know. And that is something you should do too. You should reciprocate. If you're confused, you should let them know. Have a healthy interaction with the university, and you'll find the process quite easier. So if you are looking for funding, if you can get something from outside the university, if you can secure something in your home office, such as government loans in your own country or some form of organizational support, do use them, because the truth is that the university scholarships are quite limited in number. They want to help you. They probably do. They're actually quite generous with the amount. If you do get a scholarship, but it is quite competitive and there will be a lot of people applying for a very limited number of scholarships. So it is better if you have a backup plan for your finances other than the scholarships. I hope this has actually helped you a bit with your questions regarding financial aid in the UK and the scholarship process in the UK. As I said, financial aid is not really available for international students in the UK. Subscribe to the Virtual Vine, keep watching our videos, and have a very nice day.